we traded for Nick Foles, the Jaguars leftovers. We could have got Cam. We could have got Jameis. We could have tried to go after Phillip Rivers. But we get Nick Foles. I hate this team. I hate this team. Bleach. The Chicago Bears have done it to me once again. Death has to be a lot better than being a Chicago Bears fan right now. Mitchell Trubisky or Nick Foles. So let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Who will be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears when the 2020 NFL season begins? Nick Foles, who they recently traded for in a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars, or Mitchell Trubisky? Now, a lot of Bears fans were upset with the trade of Nick Foles from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I understand why, because it was better options at the quarterback position. You could have got Andy Dalton. You could have got Jameis Winston. You could have traded for Cam Newton. But instead, you get Nick Foles, who Jacksonville Jaguars were looking to get rid of because they didn't want to pay him all that money just to sit and be a backup quarterback. Now, in Nick Foles' defense, Nick Foles, before he got injured, and the opening season game for the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Kansas City Chiefs, he was really impressive. I was watching that game. Nick Foles was really, really good before he got injured against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, he was dotting up that Chiefs defense, which improved in the middle of the season. At the start, it wasn't really as good as it was by the time they ended up winning the Super Bowl at the end of this season. But Nick Foles is better than Mitch Trubisky. That's basically what Chicago Bears fans are saying. And you can't get no worse than what you already have at the quarterback position and Mitchell Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky really struggled last season in 2019. I mean, he was missing wide open receivers. Not only was he throwing inaccurate passes, but I mean, it was wide receivers wide open, and Trubisky wouldn't even notice him at all. Wouldn't even look their way. So, the question is, who will be the starting quarterback for the Bears this season? And if I was a betting man and I had to bet $1,000 on who would be the Bears starting quarterback, I would bet on Mitchell Trubisky. And I'm not saying that because I feel Trubisky is better than Nick Foles. I'm saying this because the Bears front office, from my viewpoint, can't live with the fact that they messed up. It feels like the Bears are going to try to force the issue. That's what I think the Bears are going to try to do. They're going to force Trubisky to be the starter. And hopefully they pray to God, because that's basically what they're doing at this point. They're praying and hoping that Mitch Trubisky is the quarterback that they envisioned. Now, I don't know what kind of quarterback the Bears saw in Mitch Trubisky when they drafted him over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, but I was screaming. I was a freshman, right? I was in 9th grade talking about how Mitch Trubisky should not be a first-round pick. I mean, the guy only started 1 year of college football, and the red flags were pretty obvious, and the Bears still took him anyway over Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And the Bears fans know that the Bears front office and the Bears organization messed up when they drafted Trubisky. And I'm pretty sure the Bears front office understands that they messed up as well. But it seems like they're just hoping that Mr. Trubisky just somehow just becomes this great quarterback all of a sudden. And it's not really going to happen. But I think the Bears front office is most likely going to end up having all this propaganda, hyping up the quarterback competition, making it seem like the job is up for grabs. But I mean, in all reality, Mitch Trubisky is most likely going to end up being the starter come week 1. Despite Nick Foles being a better quarterback, the front office, I feel, of the Chicago Bears, I just don't think they can take a L and move on. And I think they're just going to once again force Matt Nagy to name Mitchell Trubisky the starter because they want Mitch Trubisky to play like the quarterback they envisioned he could be when they drafted him 3rd overall. And eventually, what I think is going to happen is Mitch Trubisky plays a couple of games. He still doesn't do well. Then Nick Foles comes in, and the Chicago Bears start to win some games. And maybe the Bears can make a late playoff push. Now, I know Mitch Trubisky isn't all that. And I know Nick Foles isn't all that. But Nick Foles is better than Mitch Trubisky. And I mean, for the Bears, I mean, you just need some consistent quarterback play. The Bears have an elite defense. They have a great defense, actually. I think Matt Nagy, despite how a lot of Bears fans get on Matt Nagy for his play calling, his inability to get a solid run game in Chicago and things like that, but I still think Matt Nagy is a pretty doggone good play caller. So, I mean, he was a good enough play caller that a year ago he was able to get Mitchell Trubisky and the Chicago Bears offense to score enough points that they could get the Bears into the playoffs. And the fact that Mitchell Trubisky was a Pro Bowler, I think even gives Matt Nagy more credit. But, I mean, I expect Mitch Trubisky, if I'm a better man, to be the starting quarterback for the Bears come week 1. Because, listen, the Chicago Bears front office, I just don't think they can accept the L and walk away from it. I just think that they're going to try to hope and pray to God that Mitch Trubisky becomes the quarterback that they hope he could be or can be. And I mean, Mitch Trubisky, he had some solid games, I guess. He had that Thursday night game when he went off. And I mean, it looked like maybe he was changing. Maybe he just had a mid-season turnaround. Then after that, he stinks it up. So, I mean, with Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, it's just really frustrating. I understand the frustration that Chicago Bears fans feel. I mean, I have a Chicago Bears fan. He always talks about how it's so frustrating watching Mitchell Trubisky. It's just really upsetting when you watch Mitchell Trubisky. And, I mean, he's inconsistent. And then some games when he's on, I mean, he ends up being really good sometimes. He ends up surprising a lot of people, and then most of the time he ends up just not being good at all. Missing wide open wide receivers, I believe, week 1 against the Green Bay Packers. I believe Allen Robinson was wide open. I don't remember if it was 3rd down or 2nd down. But Allen Robinson was wide open. On the sideline, nobody near his area at all. No Green Bay defenders are in the proximity of Allen Robinson. And Mitchell Trubisky doesn't even look his way at all. At all. And I mean, like gosh, like the dude was wide open. Nobody in his proximity at all. And Mitchell Trubisky just didn't see him at all. Now, for Nick Foles, what Chicago Bears going to get out of Nick Foles, if he does, and I think he will, potentially become the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, what you're getting a guy who is accurate. He doesn't turn the football over that much. And I mean, I think the Chicago Bears have a good enough receiving core, although the receiving core isn't all that. I mean, I like the Bears receiving core. I like Allen Robinson. I hope Riley Ridley starts to get a little bit more PT. I mean, I don't think the Chicago Bears wide receiving core is that bad. They have a lot of solid young wide receivers on the roster. But the wide receivers are being held back by poor quarterback play in Trubisky. So, I mean, Nick Foles, he may not seem like a large upgrade from Mitch Trubisky, but trust me, he is. I mean, if you give Nick Foles a solid play caller, which I believe Matt Nagy is, a solid offensive line, which Chicago does have a pretty okay offensive line. It's not great, but I don't think it's terrible neither. And Chicago is able to get some kind of a run game going, like they were unable to do for the majority of the 2019 season. I think that Nick Foles and Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears, with how good their defense is, could end up somewhat making the playoffs. And I mean, you gotta look, the Chicago Bears went, 8-8 with Mitchell Trubisky as their starting quarterback. So if they can go 8-8 with Mitch Trubisky, I'm pretty sure they could win a lot more games with Nick Foles as their starting quarterback. Now, I know Bears fans may not be all that impressed with what Nick Foles did. I mean, you could argue and say that he won the Philadelphia Eagles because he had a great coaching staff, he had talent around him, and I agree with that. But if you give Nick Foles a little bit of talent, a solid play caller, and a great defense, he can win you some games. And I think that Nick Foles won't be the starter for the Chicago Bears come week 1. I think Mitch Trubisky will be the starter, not because I think Mitch Trubisky is better than Nick Foles, but simply for the fact that I think the front office is just going to force Mitch Trubisky to once again be the starter and hope that he ends up becoming the quarterback that they envisioned him becoming when they drafted him a few years back over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. So that's my thoughts on the Chicago Bears quarterback controversy. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.